everyone, and welcome back to our show, the 3-hour news show. And we are now entering the See the Ramadan Story segment. Now, as a parent, of course, I always want to provide the best for my little one, especially when it comes to education. And today, we will learn about what's called nature-based education for children with co-founder of Alam Atelier School, Supiani Winata, or better known as Miss Pipi. Am I right? Hi, Miss Pipi.
Hi, Miss Pipi.
I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you here because we want to learn so much about early childhood education.
Yes, it's
well, as
very
parents,
important.
exactly. As parents, sometimes for us it's really overwhelming because there's so many methods, there's so many curriculum.
Yeah.
We don't know what to choose, and suddenly today we are hearing this new thing called nature-based education.
Yes.
Now, I'm not familiar with it, so before we start the interview, could you please explain it to us?
Okay, I think to start with, I would like to also highlight the fact how nature-based education comes up. Actually, it arises from a growing concern of nature deficit disorder. It's not exactly a medical or mental condition, but then it is quite impactful for early childhood because you know, with the urbanized modern lifestyle right now, children are getting less and less green time outside. You know, they are fixated with their gadgets, you know, a huge amount of time spent on screen. And it's actually producing negative effects on children. And that's what nature deficit disorder means.
Okay.
So, and the negative effects, you know, among others, we can say about their anxiety, stress level is pretty high for children, even for young children. And this actually also shorten their attention span and also academic performance. So I think this is also worrying a lot of parents.
Yeah,
of course, we parents always want to give the best, like you said, to our children. And this is actually something that we are not aware, and we want to heighten this green time for the children. Thus, you know, we introduce nature-based education because we want to connect the children back to the nature again.
But why is it important? Why nature-based education is important, and how does nature-based learning affect child development of competence?
Well, actually, the nature offers huge possibilities, open-ended play and learning possibilities for children. So it is through their exploration, you know, discovery. All this actually will bring a lot of learning into their play. Right now, we heard a lot of education, play-based education. But here, we are injecting even more play-based plus nature education. Because in the nature, of course, there's a calming effect. And also, there are a lot of components out there in the nature school that really bring the best out of a child.
Right.
Yes.
So could you please elaborate more? How do teachers work in a nature-based school? And could you please describe a little bit about the learning environment in that school? Because from what I know, the school is located in the city, right? Not somewhere a suburb.
Yes, it's in Pangeran Antasari.
Okay, so it's
South Jakarta.
in the middle of South Jakarta, very strategic.
Yes.
So is it really, does the location really mimics the nature, or?
I think South Jakarta being green as it is, I think it is, that is one of the consideration why we, you know, choose that location. But even more than that is actually how we design the entire school to be nature-based and offering that limitless opportunities, green time opportunities for our children. And one thing that very, very unique about nature education is the education, whatever the learning opportunities here are decided by the children. So it's a very, very child-led program. Meaning whatever interests the children, that's where the educator will take them. So therefore, we say that the educator actually serves as a facilitator. I mean, in conventional schools, you would be seeing, first of all, of course, a lot of time is, done indoor, in the indoor classroom. But in a nature school, we see the playground, the garden as an outdoor classroom, meaning it offers learning opportunities out there. And as the educator, they facilitate all this, meaning they are not asking questions, they are not like
Giving tests?
No, they don't, and not even answers. So they just provoke the children.
They let the kids find out the answer themselves through facilitating them.
Yes.
Now that leads me to the next question,
Right.
because I believe that a lot of parents out there is not familiar with the child-led education, because back in our days, we just sit down in a classroom and listen to the teacher, da 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 da,
Exactly.
do this, do that, and then we learn through that activity.
Yeah.
But right now it's very different, right? Nowadays, this approach is more popular.
Yes.
However, still, some people don't understand. Could you please explain to them, how does the children learn if the children are the one who leads?
You actually raise a very, very interesting point. Actually, you know what? The questions that the children throw to the teachers always caught them off guard. That's why we say the teachers, the educators, they are not only as facilitator, they are also co-researcher. Co-researcher meaning they research together whatever that the children want to find out. Because I believe as an educator, it's not like, they know everything. And children, I tell you, both of you have children, right?
Yes.
You will know that they ask the smartest questions,
Very curious,
questions
right?
out of this world.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is your answer going to be? You don't want, oh, I don't know, let's forget it. What you want is, oh, you know what? I'm also thinking about that. Let us find out together.
Yeah.
So that's why we say the educators are also co-researchers. They research together
Interesting,
and they
yeah.
find out. And most of the time, actually, our educators, they are also learning from the children. Actually, when the children ask questions like that, that is the starting point of a beautiful learning journey together with their classmates, with the teachers as well. We do that all the time. We do that all the time. We call it project work.
Yeah.
And this project work is actually interdisciplinary learning, which covers all subjects from math, science, literacy, art, social studies, and of course, creativity. With me, actually, I brought some of this project work.
Okay, it's good to see a concrete example of what students in a nature-based learning ecosystem do every day.
All right. So, like, for example, this one, this is our journey to the world of spiders.
Okay.
So,
Bring it close.
this is done by a 3-year-old. So, and this is during the pandemic, by the way.
So it was online? It was
Yes,
done online?
It was
all the learning?
online, but the children actually take advantage of their backyard with the guidance of the teacher as a facilitator. But as you can see,
Let's see the outcome.
all the learnings are documented. So the children's questions, their voices, their own answers, their own investigation are all recorded in this learning process. So it's really actually quite comprehensive. And this is done by the 3-year-olds.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then we have another one which is called the molting grasshopper. How does this project embark? This actually started when the children visited their own garden, and they found out that there is a molting grasshopper, and these 4-year-old children start asking. They say, Miss Pham, our teachers, they said, how come we can see 2 grasshoppers? But actually the other one is, of course, is the skin, because it's emerging. And then they started asking lots of questions, and they were asking whether there are 2 grasshoppers, or is there one? And then they started learning a lot of the life cycle.
So the question is like a door opening
It is.
to new knowledge
Yes,
for them.
correct.
Wow.
So it really depends on the extent of the questions that they are going to ask. And you were asking earlier more of how this nature-based education can actually integrate into academic goals, because I think that's the question that every parent would want to know. Yeah. So I can tell you this one. For example, this one. The children, after finding out about grasshoppers, then later on they found out that grasshopper can jump really, really far. And they found out that grasshopper can jump 20 times, further than the length of their own body. And then the children, they start to be curious. They say, what about us human beings? What about us? Let's try to find out. And then they start doing data, their own data. So they measure each other, the height, and after that they, jump. And then they jump. They find out that, oh no.
The distance of the jump.
Yeah, the distance are not equal to, not nearly, to the grasshopper. And at the same time, they also document how they make the leap, the poses of the grasshopper. So it's really, really interesting how all these observation skills develop.
Look at that.
In the children. Yes.
Very, very
Usually children
interesting.
learn through textbook and through teachers saying things, but in the nature-based learning, it's like the nature is the main textbook.
Yes,
isn't
correct.
it?
Yes, like you say, it's really the window.
Yes.
The window of learning, and it covers everything. They were reading also a poem.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I like about
Handwriting,
this
right?
method.
Yes.
You don't force the children, right? In nature-based learning, you never force the children to have a very neat handwriting.
No. Actually, the content is what really matters. Actually, when it comes to writing, when the children develop good muscle, finger muscle, naturally they will also write better.
Okay.
But it's actually on the daily exercise of, stimulate all the stimulation and also all the exercises. All these things actually will be important for their muscle, for their muscle strength.
Yeah.
So for this one, again, this grasshopper project actually brings them also to do sculptures. And in the nature-based education, once again, we don't limit the children how they express themselves. We say actually the children express in 100 languages. And this 100 languages can cover all sorts of mediums. So when we are talking about art can mean anything.
Yes.
When they want to produce a replica of the grasshopper, it can be made of wood, it can be made of metals, coils, whatever.
It's based on their creativity, right?
Yes, and even egg cartons. So I think this can be done even right at home.
Wow. Okay, Ms. Pipi, but I'm curious, what are the things that parents should keep in mind when holding nature-based activities for their kids?
Okay. Of course, there is also a certain level of risk. I think what we need is, of course, we prioritize safety, especially for young children. So we have to bear in mind whether the materials are toxic, whether they are sharp, because if we don't, first of all, educate our children about the safety measures, I think we are, letting the children to face potential danger. So I think it's very, very wise for parents to really give only a certain measure of risk, risk play, I said. For example, at Alam Atelier, our playground is designed by a U.S. naturescape expert. His name is Rusty Killer. And Rusty Killer, actually, his approach is designing playscapes that offers a certain level of risk play.
Risk play.
Risk
Okay.
play. What does it mean? Well, it might sound frightening, yeah, a bit scary. But this risk play is actually in a supervised and safe environment.
Yeah.
For example, earlier this morning we had a play date in our school, and we saw like 2-year-old, 3-year-old on their own. Probably they would just step one stone, a stepping stone, and that's it. They didn't want to move on. But then, because they are supervised by an adult teacher and encouraging them and scaffolding them, then they can actually go from one stone to another stone to another stone. And after that, they are encouraged to go on this a log where she stabilized herself, going across from one end of the log to the other. So these are actually very, very good for children to assess their capability of handling risk. These are all challenges that are very good for children because it builds their resilience and confidence.
Earlier, you were saying about how this method or this approach encourage students to be creative, right? And I believe also the teachers that practice this method also never or rarely criticize a child or corrects them. Is there any specific reason behind that?
Because we believe the child, this is a Reggio Emilia approach, which actually originates from a town in Italy called Reggio Emilia. And there are 3 important elements that is being proposed by this Reggio Emilia philosophy. The first one is actually how we view the child. So we view the child as the constructor of their own knowledge and their own learning journey. So which means we give them the freedom, right?
Right.
Or whatever interests them. So of course we want to continue to encourage them to ask questions, to try to investigate. So if we try to correct them each time they make a mistake, then naturally the children, whatever they want to move forward, they would do that. Because,
scared,
no,
right?
I'm going to be corrected, because of
Exactly.
my mistake. So,
Miss Pipi, just one quick question, last question.
yes.
Please answer it shortly.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the outcome regarding the children's attitude once they graduate and once they grow up. Do you see any positive behaviors in them towards the environment or nature? Because you've been in this industry or this field for many, many years, right? You must have seen a lot of positive outcomes from this.
One thing about nature, I think it brings out the wonder and awe for the children. And because of that, they will appreciate, and it brings awareness for the children to actually appreciate the beauty, the complexity, and also the diversity of the natural world. And we hope that, being connected to the natural world will make them later on to have a sense of responsibility, stewardship for the environment. And hopefully when they grow up, they become advocates for our planet.
Super lucky children nowadays. That now that they have this methods of learning, we didn't have those back then. All right, where can we find you? On social media? Where can we reach you?
We are.
This is the last time.
Yes. Of course, as I said, we have Alam Atelier in Pangeran Antasari. You are most welcome.
Are you on Instagram too?
And also in Instagram. Also
the account is
under Alam Atelier.
Alam Atelier. Okay, Miss Pipi, thank you so much.
Thank you so
we
much,
learned a lot
Miss
today.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
I
for
hope
coming.
it answers a lot of, or maybe some of the concerns for parents, who are worried that their children, having too much screen time.
Yes.
Please.
No.
Nature offers so much possibilities
Agree.
for the children.
Agreed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Auntie.
Auntie.
I still have a lot of questions, but
Yeah.
unfortunately we don't have much time. We're up for another break, but don't worry because we'll come back and we will be cooking an iftar menu in our See the Cooking segment. Stay tuned.